Hi, my name is David March. I call myself the Spy Guy. Normally, in this kind of stream, I do like movie reviews or TV reviews, but I'm also involved in Canadian politics to a certain extent, and a bunch of people that I'm on a locals page for Viva Frei and BarnesLaw.com, and Viva Frei has decided or David Free has decided he wants to run for Canadian office in a riding where he's going to get his butt kicked. I'm very sorry to tell everyone that that's the truth. He's running against Marc Garneau, which I'm going to look up his riding right now. I should have done that before hitting live, but that's me. I was going to again. So he is I'm just going to MP to Wikipedia. He is he is part of the he's part of the Liberal Party. He's running in Montreal. He's a former astronaut. He ran for the leadership of the party. My sometimes girlfriend actually worked for him on his campaign, so I have a little bit of bias there. Not that it doesn't matter. I'll give you my credentials. Until like a month ago, I was the president of Hamilton Center Riding Association, or is there not technically called Electoral District Association, which is different than the Hamilton Center Constituent District Association, which is the provincial thing. Federal parties and provincial parties in Canada aren't always the same thing. For example, the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party, the Liberal Party and the BC Liberals are somewhat like each other, but they're not really the same political party, since the BC Liberal Party is also the British Columbia Conservative Party. We have three political parties generally at the federal level in Canada. We have the Conservative Party, which is not the same as the Progressive Conservative Party, despite a lot of people not realizing that. The New Democrat Party and the Liberal Party. And the Liberal Party is the oldest of all of them, though the Progressive, it beats even the Progressive Conservative Party, because the Progressive Conservative Party didn't come the Progressive Conservative Party till World War II. Anyways, I'm getting a little off on track, but Marc Garneau is been Minister of Transportation, and right now he's Minister of Foreign Affairs. He's his riding that Viva's trying to run in is, I'm just trying to look up here. He's in Westmount. Well, doesn't seem to like this. Marc Garneau riding. That's it. Let's pulling up the riding information. He is Notre Dame. He's the MP for Notre Dame, Douglas or Westmont. Notre Dame. Sorry, I should have had this information putting up. So, we're at 338. So the writing was once, whatever. Here it is. Part of the Notre Dame de Grace. Sorry, I'm just looking at all these information. It's all over the place. This is the writing that's been long held by the Liberals forever. If it were to go to any other political party, it would go to the NDP. The PPC party, my understanding, they got 500 votes last time, 552 votes. The Conservatives got 8,000. So I'm going to explain one thing here. So there's the People's Party of Canada is a populist party. I've met Maxime Bernier on a couple occasions. I was his ward captain in my riding in Hamilton Center during the leadership, which he lost because he's an incompetent boob. And yeah, I'm going to tell you that I'm sure he says all the right things when it coming down to the pandemic, and I'm very good for him for doing that. But he's not a smart guy. He's a wild card. He is a maverick in the Conservative Party, and if he could just learn to keep his mouth shut, he'd be leader of the opposition right now, and probably the next Prime Minister of Canada. But he can't do that, so we're under the control of Erin O'Toole, who I did support and am critically disappointed by. But be that as it may, here, maybe it is here. Yeah. So in the last election, Mark Garneau got 28,323 votes, or 56.28%. This previous election, he got 57.67%. The NDP came in at second with 15.5%, so 753 votes. The Conservatives got 11.44, so they didn't even. Oh no, they qualified federally at 10%, and so did the Green. The People's Party, as I said, oh, they got 565 votes. The Conservatives have nothing listed for expenditures, which I find a little odd, but maybe that just implies they just put a name on the ballot and didn't even have a campaign. Garneau spent $78,000 on his thing. The NDP paid $46,000, and the Greens spent $10,000, and the People's Party spent about $5,000. The way this works is you get 10% of the vote, you get 20 to 25% of your expenses paid back to you, which gives you enough money to, if you're popular enough, you need to get 10% of the vote to have a bit of a nest egg to run in the next election and build on that. We have very strict laws on how you can spend your money here. There's usually an elections cap. You can only spend about $90,000 to $100,000. It's always kind of iffy how much the money is you're allowed to spend during the writ period. Oh, I forgot to mention that. So in Canada, unlike the United States, where you can just spend all your money all the time, we have a specific writ period where you have the pre-writ and the writ. And during the writ, that's when you can spend your money on the election, and that's when you can put up your signs. You can't put up your signs before the election, though. You can get an office, and you can't so your signs are allowed to go up. They can't go up on public land. Usually there's local bylaws deciding what can go up and down, but the only time you're allowed to have your signs up is during the writ. You got to take your signs down 3 days after the writ. I've had to drive around and pick up signs. There is the maximum donation per party is about $1,500. It's usually fluctuating a little bit. They kind of index it for inflation, so probably by now it's about $1,600 per candidate. I can't remember what the actual amount will be, and we won't really know because the election does happen in September, as people suspect it will. That'll be one thing, but the Prime Minister's got to let us know a certain amount of days before the writ. There's an election right now going on in Nova Scotia where the Liberals are trying to win again, so they don't want to drop a federal election during the middle of a provincial election because, you want your volunteers to work on both elections. It's very small payment plans of that, so you're not going to be spending a lot of money doing this. So you're paying $1,600 maximum per candidate. You can also give $1,600 to the party, and if you want to bet, you could buy. So it does allow this to happen. You can give $1,600 to Liberals, $1,600 to the new NDP. You can give money to all of them to get a bigger tax credit if you're someone rich like that. Different provinces have different rules on this, but generally everyone's been going in the same direction as the federal election. So what are you going to do? So in order to run a proper campaign, depending on how you're doing it, and I really don't know the rents in Montreal, but I'm going to assume they're going to be expensive. But around here, we can usually do a cheap campaign for $15,000 to $25,000, depending. I have seen other people run campaigns that are really dumb. We had a candidate for our party who thought for some reason he was going to win in the neighboring riding. It didn't work out. His family took out a $100,000 line of credit, whereupon they didn't win. So they had to pay off that line of credit out of individual contributions. But you remember, you can only donate $1,500 a year. So all 5 family members are now stuck paying off their line of credit at $1,500 a year donations until they can get the thing off. So you can fundraise to get more people to do that, but generally people don't want to fundraise when you're no longer the candidate. Funny that when you don't, so you have to judge out how much you want to spend based on, and usually you don't spend more than what you have because you have to pay it back over the time. And the post writ, you use that money to build towards the next election, not there. And with that money, you're going to be buying yourself campaign signs. You're going to buy yourself the literature. You can, and hopefully you'll have some volunteers to drop literature for you. And you're going to have rent your office. You're going to get your cable, your phone lines installed for a month, which is a real pain in the butt since they're going to charge you for it. They don't like the fact that you're only installing in and out. You're going to have to keep track of all this stuff. And you're getting your signs, your offices, supplies. Generally, you can get away with some donations. So I was just checking out the laws right now. So if you spend $200 or less on any individual thing, you don't have to claim it. So that, I think we've been doing that a little wrong around here, but generally people want to get their tax credit, so they claim whatever they're going to do, but it goes against your $1,600 limit. So if you want to give an in-kind donation, you want to loan out the office to someone for a month, that office better be $1,600 or less on normal rent, or they're going to charge, or the Elections Canada is going to come for you and charge you for that. And you can, normally no one goes to jail for these things. It's very rare. But yes, people who've overspent have faced fines, and it's a bit of a scandal. And people have been kicked out of their seats for overpaying on the election. So that's something you got to do. We had some issues with where we had to pay it back out of association funds. The previous candidate in my riding, it is a problem. So your riding association is basically sitting there for the entire years between the elections, doing all these decision making, carefully husbanding resources, only to have during election time handed over to a campaign manager and a candidate who may be parachuted into your riding by your thing, and they'll have no responsibilities. They'll overspend like crazy, and then you're sucked with the bill having to eat it afterwards. That's often why if you're a local campaign, you want to have control of your candidate, and you do not want these guys to drop in someone at the last minute who's going to screw you, because that is something that will happen. So look, if you guys want to support Viva, you have to be Canadian. I'm not too sure about third parties. That's a whole other issue I'm not very familiar with. We are now having third-party election funds coming into the situation. I have a friend who is running one of these, so if people really wanted to do that, I can get you in contact with him. But the expense, the money you can make paying into the third party is actually is not as heavily regulated as other parts of the thing. So we have like a spending limit on a third party of like $300,000 federally. So, and provincially we have $500,000. So it's fun that way. But you can, if you want to pay for polling, if you want to pay for some advertising that is not necessarily tied to a candidate, but you want to do like the big one up here is Ontario Proud, even though they will be contributing to the federal election. So they'll be doing stuff across the country. They first came out of one of the Ontario elections to fight that. There are no corporate contributions. There are no union contributions. It all comes out of your pocket. And they even have a check mark on your form that says, are you giving this? This is your own money. Did you get this from someone else? So this doesn't, we don't have, the good news is that candidates don't spend, if they get elected, don't spend all their time fundraising, because in the end, you're only going to have $100,000 to spend during the course of the election. And if you're a decent candidate, or if you're decent parties, either in power or at least has an MP, most people can have 100 people that can raise them $100 people that can raise $1,000. That's what you're dealing with here. This is Canadian elections are small fry. So I really want to thank Viva for making this attempt, but really he's really fighting an uphill battle in a riding that is not the worst riding. God knows Vanier in Ontario is the worst riding. And I had a friend, my predecessor as a riding president, he ended up moving to Vanier, which is a part of Ontario that's just on the border. It's in the capital region, and it's right on the border. So it's basically Quebec. There's the Ontario-Quebec border has places that on one side is heavily French, and on the other side in Quebec, everyone speaks English there, and the sign police just don't go down there anymore. So Vanier it's a riding that has delivered nonstop 80% of the Liberal vote since it's pretty much its founding. So that's a way worse place to run. They literally, this guy's wife said to me, she was coming home. She put a lawn sign on the front of her driveway. Took the groceries out of the car, went inside, came back out, and found her lawn sign gone. They play it a little rough in some places in Canada. Okay, you know what? I'm going to just kind of post this to the board, and if people have questions for me there, they can do it there. So this was kind of just a brief summary of the difficulties in Canadian elections that you're going to face running. I didn't want to get into too much of the silliness that is Mad Max Bernier, but I just wanted to give people kind of an understanding that it's not like America. You just can't go up and give a bunch of money to a guy and start doing things. You can't set up PACs. You can't set up PACs, but it's all regulated, and you should be a Canadian citizen. And the government will be asking you if this is your own money. Now, I don't think they really care too much if someone gave you $1,500 to give to them. It's not like you're going to audit all your books, but this is Canadian politics is a heavily regulated industry, and it's not for just the casual fan and getting involved. Like, this is just a quixotic campaign. Anyone who thinks he's going to win, it's going to be very difficult to win against a guy who's a sitting cabinet, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and you're coming from the conservative side, consider the right-wing side of things. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. So in the 1990s and the early 2000s, the conservative vote in Canada was split between the Conservative Party and the Reform Party. And when they united and finally got elected under Stephen Harper, that party is pretty united. When Maxime Bernier left to go off and following the People's Party, no one from the Conservative Party was following him. The regular diehard voters are going to vote Conservative no matter what. You're not getting any votes out of like regular Conservative votes. It's just not happening. The people who vote for the PPC are new people who have never voted before or don't normally vote. So there was not like Maxime Bernier did not split off a bunch of conservative vote in the last election. That's just totally nonsense. He had the people who voted for him who were people who never voted before or wouldn't vote for any party normally. So don't be expecting there to be like a bunch of people who decide because they're angry at what's his name, Aaron O'Toole, to go vote for the People's Party in protest. I think you would have more people vote NDP than they will. I do believe a lot of our vote will stay home in the next election because they're not happy with the way Aaron O'Toole is doing that. But even then, we have the latest polling came out a couple days ago, and it was showing that the conservative vote was firming up again, and they were just not going to vote for these people. You got to realize Trudeau is hated in large parts of the Western Canada. In the last election, despite the fact that we didn't win the election, we had ridings where we were getting 90% of the vote in Western Canada. 90%. People they're not going to give up to go vote for Maxime Bernier, no matter how much he might be good on civil liberties. It's just not a winning issue for Canadians. And I really want to stress that. You got to remember, 6 weeks ago, we were the least vaccinated country in the planet. We are now the most vaccinated. We have 80% on first dose and 40% on second dose. And in another month, we will be 80% second dose. Canadians are one of the most law-abiding, orderly thing. We've seen the videos of the Montreal protest of thousands of people. Up until this weekend, tens of thousands of people. The largest rally I think of in Toronto was 4,000 people. This has not been the issue that people are pissed off. People are getting upset and are going to go against the vaccine passport. Really, the federal government's already decided they're not going to do anything about it as long as the provincial governments and They say it's because we lack the technology. It sounds like they just don't want to take their chances in court. There has been a lot of sketchy things happening at the court level. But generally, when you go to the court, the Crown dismisses. They don't want to test any of these court challenges against judges. They don't want to take their chances. They've been in a lot of fear to suppress people, but generally they have not been willing to take their chances at court. And that's a good and bad, but whatever. But I'm just saying that, like, COVID is not going to be the winning issue that all of us think it is here. Civil liberties might be a big thing, but otherwise, if it was the driving issue, internal polling would have led it to believe that people would do that, and you would probably be hearing more from the Conservatives on it. Okay, that was kind of like wanted to give people a kind of an overview of Canadian election system, how you donate, how donations work, and a little bit of the political thing here, and kind of explain how it works. If people want to ask me more, I'm happy to give more advice on this thing. I'm kind of a bit player, but I've run election campaigns. I've been involved as an organizer at the local level. I've been to the provincial conventions. I've been to the federal conventions. I have met the leaders. I've hosted them. I'm a small cog in a large pond, but I have what is called a provincial appointment for my work for the political parties. Anyways, I think I've rambled on here long enough. I'm going to cut this video and see you guys later. Bye-bye.